Hi everyone. Today, you'll discover the shocking truth about why the next major U.S. war could erupt right on the border with Mexico. We'll explore drug cartels that have evolved into armed forces, secret DEA and CIA operations, the fentanyl crisis, and how the U.S. is preparing for a hidden war. This video uncovers all the facts hidden from the public and explains why Mexican cartels have become a serious threat to America's national security. I kindly ask you to like this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel. It would truly help me grow and keep creating more content for you. Thank you so much for your support. The script introduces a potential conflict with Mexican cartels. This conflict is framed as a major American concern. The conflict's significance is compared to past wars. The comparison emphasizes the gravity of the situation. The cartel's power and sophistication are highlighted. This sets the stage for an in-depth analysis of the cartels. The origins of modern drug cartels can be traced back to the 1980 seconds. During this period, the U.S. intensified its efforts to suppress cocaine trafficking through Caribbean routes. This crackdown inadvertently led to a significant shift in drug trafficking patterns. Drug trafficking operations began rerouting through Mexico as an alternative pathway. This shift marked a pivotal moment in the rise of Mexican drug cartels. Initially, Mexican cartels functioned as small-scale transportation groups. Over time, these cartels evolved into complex, multinational syndicates. This evolution included the acquisition of advanced weaponry. Cartels developed sophisticated organizational structures to manage their expanding operations. Systemic corruption became a hallmark, facilitating cartel activities across borders. In 2006, President Felipe Calderón initiated a comprehensive strategy known as the War on Drugs. This strategy involved deploying troops to regions under cartel control. A key objective was to dismantle drug cartels by targeting their leaders. The approach aimed to weaken the cartel's operational capabilities. This military-led intervention marked a significant escalation in Mexico's efforts to combat drug trafficking. The War on Drugs aimed to dismantle large drug cartels by targeting key leaders. However, the removal of kingpins created power vacuums within the drug trade. These power vacuums led to the fragmentation of cartels into smaller, competing groups. These splinter groups began vying for control of territory and drug trafficking routes. The competition between these groups resulted in increased violence and instability. Therefore, the strategy inadvertently fueled further conflict and escalated the overall violence. By the 2020 seconds, Mexican cartels had evolved to function as parallel governments in certain regions. These cartels exerted governmental authority by collecting taxes from the local populace. They also enforced their own set of laws within the territories they controlled. This enforcement often bypassed or superseded the official legal system. In some instances, cartels provided social aid to residents within their controlled areas. This dual role of taxation, law enforcement, and social aid solidified their position as parallel governing entities. Cartels require a large workforce to maintain their operations. Estimates suggest that over 160,000 individuals are employed by cartels. This extensive network necessitates continuous recruitment efforts. Constant recruitment is essential to offset attrition and expand operations. The scale of recruitment reflects the significant operational scope of cartels. Maintaining this workforce is a critical aspect of cartel power and influence. Fentanyl is identified as the most dangerous modern drug. It is contrasted with cocaine due to its synthetic nature. Fentanyl is easier to manufacture than cocaine. This ease of manufacture contributes to its prevalence. The synthetic nature allows for rapid production and distribution. These factors exacerbate the dangers associated with fentanyl use. Fentanyl production relies on specific chemical precursors. These precursors are often sourced from China. The chemicals are smuggled through Pacific ports to avoid detection. Cartels then process these precursors in clandestine laboratories. These labs are typically located within cartel-controlled territories. This process transforms the precursors into the final fentanyl product. Fentanyl is smuggled northward, across the border, into the United States. Common methods of transportation include cars and trucks. Smugglers also use tunnels to transport fentanyl. These distribution networks facilitate fentanyl reaching various locations within the United States. The widespread distribution contributes to the ongoing fentanyl crisis. In 2024, opioid overdoses primarily involving fentanyl, caused over 80,000 deaths in the U.S. This number surpasses the total American fatalities during the Vietnam War. Fentanyl is a potent synthetic opioid, contributing significantly to overdose deaths. The crisis underscores the severe public health challenge posed by opioid addiction and fentanyl proliferation. The Sinaloa Cartel and Jalisco New Generation Cartel, CJNG, function as sophisticated organizations. These cartels exhibit a structure similar to multinational corporations. Their operations include roles such as accountants for financial management. They maintain networks of suppliers for resources and logistics. Both cartels employ armed security forces to protect their operations and assets. A significant number of U.S. firearms are illegally trafficked into Mexico each year. Estimates suggest between 200,000 and 500,000 U.S. firearms are smuggled annually. These smuggled weapons are used to arm Mexican cartels. The flow of weapons south contributes to violence and instability in Mexico. This illegal arms trade forms a dangerous feedback loop. Drugs flow north into the U.S., while weapons flow south into Mexico. In 2025, the U.S. government designates specific Mexican cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. This designation broadens the legal authority of the U.S. government over these cartels. The U.S. government gains the power to freeze the assets of designated cartels. The designation also enables the targeting of individuals and entities, providing financial support to these cartels. Designating cartels as terrorists does not inherently permit military strikes within Mexico. Further authorization or justification would be required for such actions. International law and agreements constrain military interventions in sovereign nations. Any military operation necessitates careful consideration of diplomatic and legal ramifications. Therefore, a terrorist designation alone is insufficient to warrant military force in another country. Project Portero was initiated in August 2025 by the DEA. It is a joint task force between the U.S. and Mexico. The project focuses on border control operations. It specifically targets gatekeepers involved in border crossings. The goal is to disrupt illegal activities at border entry points. Project Portero aims to enhance security through collaborative efforts. The Treasury Department enforces financial sanctions against illicit organizations. These sanctions often involve freezing the assets of targeted entities. Freezing assets prevents the sanctioned groups from accessing or using their funds. In this instance, millions in assets belonging to the United Cartels and Las Viagras have been frozen. High-ranking members of the Sinaloa Cartel face charges in U.S. courts. The charges relate to providing material support. This support was allegedly given to foreign terrorist organizations. These charges fall under U.S. laws prohibiting material support to terrorism. Convictions can result in significant penalties, including imprisonment. Reuters reveals the CIA's covert integration within Mexican military units. The CIA secretly embeds personnel to enhance counter-narcotics operations. These embedded units train elite Mexican squads in advanced tactics. The training focuses on targeting cartel leadership and dismantling their networks. International law generally prohibits a country from launching military strikes within another country's borders without consent. An exception to this prohibition exists under the principle of self-defense. For example, the U.S. cannot initiate military action in Mexico without Mexico's agreement. However, the U.S. could potentially act without consent if it demonstrates that such action is necessary for self-defense. The 1916 punitive expedition involved a U.S. military incursion into Mexico. The expedition's primary objective was to apprehend Pancho Villa. This historical event serves as a precedent in military law. It is often referenced in discussions regarding international military interventions. The Pentagon and CIA are considering cross-border operations. These operations may include limited drone strikes. Surveillance flights are also under consideration. Special forces raids are being planned as well. The targets are cartel labs involved in illicit activities. These operations also aim to target cartel leaders. Cross-border operations carry significant political risks. These operations can be perceived as highly provocative by the targeted nation. The targeted nation may interpret such actions as a violation of sovereignty. Mexico, for example, might view cross-border operations as an act of war. Such a perception could lead to severe diplomatic and potentially military repercussions. Therefore, careful consideration of political consequences is crucial before undertaking these operations. President Claudia Sheinbaum navigates complex internal pressures in Mexico. She faces a dilemma between public opposition and private cooperation. Publicly, she opposes U.S. strikes, maintaining a stance of national sovereignty. Privately, she cooperates with American intelligence, indicating a need for strategic alignment. This duality reflects the intricate balance between domestic policy and international relations. Drug cartels have become deeply embedded within the Mexican political structure. This infiltration involves collaboration with various levels of authority. Collaborators include police forces at the local and regional levels. Mayors and even military officers have been exposed as cartel associates. Genaro Garcia Luna, Mexico's former top security chief, faced trial in the U.S. The trial centered on accusations of Garcia Luna accepting bribes. The bribes were allegedly provided by the Sinaloa Cartel. Garcia Luna was convicted on charges related to these bribes. Precision drone strikes are considered as a potential tactic against cartel labs and convoys. These strikes aim to disrupt cartel operations with minimal ground force involvement. However, a significant risk is the potential for civilian casualties during these operations. Unintended harm to non-combatants could lead to severe international backlash. Such incidents may trigger diplomatic crises and erode international support. Therefore, the benefits of drone strikes must be carefully weighed against the potential for civilian casualties and international repercussions. Covert special forces raids involve elite teams operating discreetly. These teams may be tasked with capturing or eliminating cartel leaders. Such operations inside Mexico carry inherent risks. Exposure of these operations could lead to catastrophic failure. Combating cartels involves employing cyber and financial warfare strategies. A key strategy is freezing the assets of cartel members and organizations. Hacking into cartel networks disrupts their communication and operations. Dismantling money laundering operations is crucial to cutting off cartel funding. A full-scale invasion represents a high-stakes military undertaking. Such an action would effectively constitute a declaration of war. The conflict would involve engaging a nation with a substantial population. This particular nation has an estimated population of 130 million people. Additionally, hundreds of thousands of armed cartel members would likely become involved. Therefore, a full-scale invasion is considered a least likely option due to the scale and complexity of the potential conflict. A hybrid approach is identified as the most likely path forward. This strategy integrates the use of drones for surveillance and reconnaissance. It also incorporates intelligence gathering and analysis. Crucially, the approach relies on cooperation with Mexican authorities. The combination of these elements forms the most probable and effective strategy. Civilian deaths resulting from U.S. actions can negatively impact international relations. Specifically, such incidents may undermine Mexico's willingness to cooperate with the U.S. This is particularly true given the already fragile nature of the cooperative relationship. The erosion of cooperation could have broader implications for security and diplomatic efforts. Cartels may retaliate against perceived threats or actions. One form of retaliation could involve direct attacks. These attacks might specifically target American citizens. U.S. facilities located abroad could also be targeted. These actions represent a potential escalation of cartel activities. Nations can face accusations of violating international law through unilateral actions. Unilateral actions are those taken by a country without the agreement or support of other nations or international bodies. These actions may contravene established international treaties, norms, or customary laws. Such accusations often lead to diplomatic tensions and potential international sanctions. Eliminating a drug cartel does not necessarily end drug-related violence. Historical evidence suggests that dismantling one cartel often leads to the emergence of another. The removal of a dominant cartel creates a power vacuum in the illicit drug market. Rival organizations compete to fill this void, leading to increased conflict and instability. This cycle of cartel replacement perpetuates violence and undermines long-term stability. Analysts suggest that the most effective solution involves reducing demand within the U.S. This perspective is based on the principle that supply tends to adjust to meet existing demand. Therefore, managing demand is seen as a more sustainable approach. Focusing on demand reduction can lead to more balanced and stable market conditions. Cartel recruitment is often fueled by a lack of economic opportunity. Social programs can address the underlying economic issues. Education initiatives provide individuals with valuable skills. Job opportunities offer alternatives to cartel involvement. These combined efforts can effectively replace the economic vacuum that cartels exploit. Project Portero was launched by the DEA in August 2025. The project's primary goal is to enhance cross-border intelligence sharing. It signifies an intensification of collaborative efforts in intelligence. The project aims to improve the coordination of intelligence across international borders. This initiative is designed to combat transnational crime more effectively. Project Portero represents a strategic move to strengthen international law enforcement cooperation. The U.S. Treasury has imposed sanctions on two major cartel networks. The sanctioned cartels are identified as United Cartels and Los Viagras. These sanctions aim to disrupt the financial operations of these criminal organizations. The Treasury's action is intended to weaken their ability to engage in illicit activities. High-ranking Sinaloa operatives face terrorism-related charges in U.S. courts. The charges indicate an alleged connection between the Sinaloa Cartel and acts of terrorism. The U.S. government is prosecuting these individuals for terrorism-related crimes. The legal proceedings will determine the extent of their involvement in terrorist activities. Reuters reported on the CIA's practice of embedding agents. These CIA agents were placed within Mexico's elite anti-cartel units. The embedding aimed to enhance intelligence gathering and operational effectiveness. These units are specifically designed to combat powerful drug cartels. The presence of CIA agents provided support and resources to these units. In September 2025, Mexico extradited several key members. The extradited individuals were affiliated with the Jalisco Cartel. The extradition process involved cooperation between Mexico and the United States. The individuals were transferred to the United States to face legal proceedings. This action signifies collaborative efforts in combating organized crime. The extradition targeted key figures within the Jalisco Cartel's operational structure. Two nations have collaborated to launch a gun trafficking initiative. The primary goal is to monitor and track firearms originating from the U.S. bracket. These firearms are being illegally smuggled southward across borders. The initiative aims to disrupt the flow of these trafficked weapons. This collaborative effort seeks to enhance border security and reduce gun violence. The situation implies an ongoing conflict. This conflict is characterized by its covert nature. Operations are conducted discreetly, away from public awareness. Actions take place behind closed doors. The war is undeclared. The war is conducted quietly. The groundwork for a covert hybrid conflict is currently being established. This includes the implementation of intelligence operations to gather critical information. Economic sanctions are also being put in place to exert pressure. The strategy also involves drone usage and cross-border coordination. The current global landscape suggests the rise of a new form of conflict. This emerging warfare is primarily conducted covertly, in the shadows. Traditional battlefields are replaced by clandestine operations and indirect confrontations. The early stages of this shadow warfare are now becoming visible. This signifies a shift in the nature of international conflicts and security threats. The new conflict involves a complex network. This network integrates aspects of a business empire. It also functions as a terrorist organization. Additionally, it operates as a political system. This hybrid structure presents unique challenges. The multifaceted nature requires a comprehensive response. Historically, America's wars have been waged far from its borders. Future conflicts may potentially originate closer to home. The Rio Grande, a river bordering the U.S., is identified as a possible site. This suggests a shift towards geographically proximate potential conflict zones. The U.S. government may consider military action against cartels. International law requires legal justification for such actions. One potential justification is the right to self-defense. This right can be invoked if the cartels pose an imminent threat. The threat must be to U.S. national security. Evidence is needed to prove the existence of this imminent threat. Cartel conflicts can significantly disrupt established trade routes. This disruption leads to increased uncertainty in cross-border transactions. Investment flows are negatively impacted due to heightened security risks. Reduced trade and investment can destabilize regional economies. Economic growth is stunted by the ongoing conflict and instability. Both Mexico and the U.S. experience adverse economic consequences from cartel activity. Thank you for watching. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Tell us in the comments what surprised you the most in this video, or what you found the most fascinating. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Many more thrilling, shocking, and mind-blowing stories are coming soon.